For those who are watching this video and have missed the first few classes, this is a World Religions class. This first video, we're going to try and compile all the first few lectures along with today's lecture and complete it in 25 minutes. Now, the course description for World Religions is the historical origins, the central teachings, the devotional practices of the major religious traditions. Some of the major religious traditions are Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So we're going to consider all of these major religious traditions in relation to common themes of human experience: the holy or the sacred, evil and suffering, love and compassion, wisdom and justice, death and deliverance. Interpretive skills appropriate to religious studies will be explored through opportunities for you all to write and revise descriptive and critical essays. So when you're writing an essay, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. When you write an essay, of course you begin by putting together a brief understanding in 300 words of what we did in the class. Yes, that's the first step. But I also want you to add your own views at the bottom, which may be a little more than 300 words. So what I'm asking is, as we begin this class of religious studies, it is important for you to make some progress. If there's no progress, then the class is useless. So when we begin today and we go 1 month later, I think it's important for everybody to make notes as where you are 1 month later. Do you have a better understanding of comparative religious studies? Do you have a better understanding of world religions? Or have you made no progress? That's the reason why I'm asking you to include a small note at the end of your essays. Now, we also spoke about the definition of a religion. What is a religion? First, a religion is the belief in and the worship of a super controlling creative power. Some people call this a personal God. For some religions, it's more than one. It's gods. Religion is also a particular system of faith and worship. Religion is a spiritual pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. Religion, my dear friends, is based on faith. Make a note about that. Religion is based on faith. Now, when we did our first class, we also did a comparison with science. And I think there's no way that you can explore and understand a religion unless you touch science. Because as I mentioned to you, I believe there is a common line where religion and science meet. But religious people don't want to touch on science. Scientists don't want to touch on religion. The problem with religion and science is that they both want to exist on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And because of that, there's no common line. So my personal attempt through this class is for you, hopefully, before you leave the school, is if you can find a way to explore that common ground between science and religion. So when we define science, first of all, science is knowledge attained through study or practice. So immediately it's the opposite. Science is knowledge covering what they call general truths of the operation of general laws, especially as obtained and tested through scientific methods and concerning with the physical world. So again, here we have a primary difference. With science, there is a testing process, and they base those testing process and results and then come to a conclusion. But with religion, the base is faith. So to the scientific mind, it does not make sense, because a scientist says, well, I need some ground rules, I need some facts. But if religion is based on faith, then it immediately contradicts the very fundamentals of science. I'm going to ask this question to you. Do you think that faith is just assuming something? Is faith believing in something that does not exist? What exactly is faith? Because I believe that people have a wrong notion of the true meaning of faith. Faith is not just believing in something that doesn't exist. Faith, if faith was what the world thinks it is, then faith means believing in fairies. Then faith means believing in the unicorn. Then faith believes in all of the so-called conspiracy theories of existence. But I believe that faith is more than that. I believe faith does have a substantial basis of fundamentals. All we need to do is just explore it. Science is a systematic enterprise that builds and organizes knowledge in the form of testable explanations and predictions about the universe. And as we close here, science is based on tests and results. So, in the first couple of lectures, this is what we touched upon: the difference of science and religion. I would like that all of you make a clear comparison, that you kind of add your own points. So here's the freedom that you have in this class. Of course there are notes, of course there's assignments, of course we're putting together notes for all of you to study, but I also want this to be a class where you add your own information. And if I find some information that's valuable, that you have put together, that is helpful, I'm happy to share this with the class, if you're comfortable with that. Now, we also spoke about God, because when you talk about religion, the first thing that we begin with is God. So how does everything begin? How does life begin? We also spoke about 3 of the false perceptions that mankind has. Can somebody tell me what were the 3 false perceptions? Yes.
False sense of love, false sense of security, and false sense of purpose.
Fantastic. Alex, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. Excellent. Can somebody else tell me? I know some of you didn't hear that. What did Alex just say? What are the 3 false perspectives in this world? Somebody from here. 3.
False sense of love. False sense of security. Football? Purpose. I was like, false football? Alright, somebody from here? What are the 3 false perceptions in this world? Go ahead, take a try. First, false perception of love. 2, false perception of security, of purpose. All right. So today, and I've taken note. I have read all of the notes that everybody has put together. I think there's some interesting notes. And today we're going to try and close this chapter. Okay? It is 1:31. I have exactly 14 minutes. Okay? If I'm going to have silence, we can wrap this up in 14 minutes. Do I have silence? Okay, do I have your attention? Yes. I think that's most important, okay? Here we go.
All right.
So, if you remember one of the classes, I began by saying, let's not begin by trying to prove God. And I know we have so many atheists in this class. I asked, let's not begin by trying to prove God. Let's first assume that there is a God. Let's start with that. Because if you begin with a criticism, then you're going to be struggling. It's going to be an uphill battle. Everything that you look at is going to be through a lens. But if you have an assumption, then we can begin our study and move forward. So based on that assumption, we are assuming that there's a God. The reason we are assuming that there's a God is because of the principle of causation. Who can tell me what is the principle of causation? What is the principle of causation? Never heard of it? Like seriously, never heard of it? The principle of causation? If you Google it, just tell me what you think it is, if you've never ever heard of it. What's the principle of causation? And I don't want you to just read what you've written on what's on Google. I want you to tell me what you think it is. What is the principle of causation? Green hoodie at the back. Are you here with me today? Okay. Are you listening? Thank you. Yes. Go ahead.
I can read.
No, you got to tell me what you think it is. I mean, read it and then tell me what you think it is. What is the principle of causation? Come on. Let's make some progress, people. I have 13 minutes. Let's go.
Every event have necessarily have a cause.
Okay. All right. What does that mean? Anybody else? What is causation? What does causation mean? No? Causation? Causation. All right. So, causation, one of the ways to explain causation is cause and effect. And that is a scientific principle. In cause and effect, everything that exists came because something or someone caused it to be there. So if you start from this, why are these benches here in this chapel? Because somebody made it. Why are you here? Because your parents made you. Why is this building here? Because somebody constructed it. Cause and effect means everything that exists came from something. And that is a scientific principle. So if we are using the principle of causation to assume, we're not assuming that there's a God just because of faith. We're assuming that there's a God because of the principle of cause and effect. So if we're going to begin with this principle, I start by trying to explain what is matter. Matter is a physical substance. All physical substances. Energy. Energy is the property of matter and radiation which is manifest as a capacity to perform. That's energy. Power is energy that is produced. When energy produces something, it's called power. And then chaos is complete disorder and confusion. So our belief, our assumption here is that God is the energy source that created all matter and all life. So if I am making that assumption, if I am saying that based on cause and effect, based on my understanding that what exists here is because someone, something, some power, some being caused it to be here, then I also have to make some more assumptions based on this. And listen very carefully. Listen very carefully, because this is going to form the foundation of our topic. First, you remember I asked you to write an essay. God is a being. God is a gender. God is an entity. God is a perception. You remember that? So everybody wrote their own notes. But based on causation, this is where we're at. God is not who we perceive. God is not an idea. God is not what you think God is. God is more than an entity. God, listen carefully. God is more than male or female. God is more than man or woman. So when human beings call another human a god, when human beings regard another human being as a god, they're immediately going against our assumptions. Because if we say, and here's the reason why. If we say cause and effect, if we say whatever exists came from something that's bigger, more powerful, it means that man and woman together came from a source. If you say God is a man with male attributes, then how did the male attribute produce the female? That's the understanding that God, the very understanding of God, the assumption of God is someone who could create both, male and female. If you say God is a man, if you say God is a person, if you say God is a woman, then how could that limited person create everything that's unlimited? Look at what's happening right now. We're living on an earth that is spinning on its axis. It's easy for us to just live and sit down here. But have you ever thought, could man ever replicate what is going on with the earth today, making it to spin on its axis? Can man create what exists in our solar system by all the planets rotating around the sun? Can man create that? Man cannot create that. Man cannot create a duplicate universe. And that's the reason we say that the power and the entity, whoever God is bigger. It's much more powerful than what we think He is. But also, it's important for you to understand that God cannot be who you want Him or her to be. Is everybody listening?
Yes.
Now this is a real powerful point. Really, really powerful. A lot of times, people choose their religion because they say they like this better. Oh, I'm following Islam because I think it makes sense. I'm following Judaism because I think it makes sense. I'm following Christianity, I'm following Mormonism because I think it makes sense. I don't think it's about what you think. I think that if what God is as the creator, as the one who has made everything, who is so powerful and has created a system, God is not who we want God to be. God is. Can everybody say that? God is. Say it.
God is.
Say it. God is.
God is.
And when you say God is, your understanding is that God is not who we prefer God to be. Oh, I like this religion because it's fun. I like this religion because it's interesting. God is, and it is our responsibility. It's our duty to pursue and know who is that God. And you know what that pursuit is called? That pursuit is called the pursuit of truth. That's what truth is. Has anybody heard of a guy called Gautam Buddha? In America we just say Buddha. You know who's Buddha, right? I mean, back from where I come, we say Gautam Buddha. That's the correct name. You know what Gautam Buddha did? What he did was he left his home, he left everything he had, and he went and he was seeking truth. He was seeking truth. So if you remember the last class, what we said is that the three false perceptions. So the world has created these false perceptions. Love, security, and purpose. That's what the world has created. And on the opposite side, here's truth. False perceptions and truth. The reason why young people are depressed, the reason why young people are upset, the reason why older people are upset, the reason why even young kids are upset is because they are finding everything in the world to be unfair. They don't understand the truth. But what the study that we did today is that there exists truth. And what is truth? Truth is God. If you can find God, then you can understand a true perspective about life. Is everybody with me? If you can seek truth, you can get a true perspective about God. Why? We have 1 minute more. I have 1 minute more. I need everybody's attention, please. I just have 1 minute more. Why is seeking truth important to us? Because if, and we just assume that there's God, if I assume there's God, it means there is a purpose. Not our purpose, but God's purpose. If there is a God, and I assume now there's a God, it means that God created you for a reason. Not for the reason you think, not for the reason that the world made. There's a reason that you all and I exist. How can I find it? When I seek God. So I'm going to just take 1 more minute. I need everybody's silence, please. I'm going to ask all of you for a very unique assignment. How many nights do we have before Saturday? Tell me. Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night. Is everybody listening? Yes. Are you all listening? Yes. I can't hear you. Yes. Here's what I'm asking you all to do. The topic we just spoke about said that since I assume God, I am seeking truth about life. What is truth? I need to understand the meaning of life. Why am I here? What is my purpose? So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you to try and to connect with God. Is everybody listening? Yes. This is something you got to do for your assignment. I'm asking everybody for your assignment between today, tonight, and Friday night. How many nights did we have? 5. And for every night, I'm going to ask you, hey Pastor Greg, every night I'm going to ask you to try to begin to seek this truth by communicating with this God. So if this God has created you and I, it means I can try and speak to that God. So what do people do? When people want to speak to God, they do something called a mantra. Mantra. They will say many words. They'll start jumping and making, lot of gestures and actions. And I think that's absurd. If I want to talk to you, do I start doing cartwheels here? Do I do cartwheels? Do I start doing shadow boxing in front of you? No, if I want to talk to you, I'm going to talk to you. So I'm going to ask everybody from tonight to Friday night, every night I'm going to ask you to take 10 minutes. This is your assignment. Take 10 minutes, sit alone by yourself. And for 10 minutes, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and talk to God. That's what I'm going to ask you to do. And at the end of Friday, You've got 5 nights that you attempted to talk to God. On Saturday and Sunday, I want you to write me a 300-word essay about your experience. What happened? It sounds crazy, right? But you know what? I like it. And I think you're going to enjoy that experience too. So starting from tonight, 10 minutes of you alone, not with your friends. 10 minutes of you sitting alone and pray. How do I pray? Just talk. Introduce yourself to God. Hello, God. My name is Jim. My name is Ricardo. My name is Hector. My name is Lena. Introduce yourself to God. Talk to God. If there's anything inside of your heart that is bothering you, I'm asking you to talk to God during this 10 minutes from tonight to Friday night. Take 10 minutes by yourself, talk to God, and you know what? Leave the last 3 minutes to maybe hear from God. Ooh. What's wrong with this, pastor? This is sci-fi stuff. No. This is us seeking truth. And so the number of students that are here, I'm going to ask everybody to write 300 words. I will not read your essay in front of everybody. It's your own personal experience. But I'm going to ask you to share it with me. 10 minutes from Monday to Friday, write me an essay on Saturday and Sunday before Sunday night at midnight of what happened when you prayed for 8 minutes and you listened for 2 minutes. As we begin our journey to understand the truth, let's try to connect with God first. Thank you very much. That is your class for today.